and 3, and sorry, what was my turn?
Could you sit up straight?
Okay,
Because I look really fat otherwise.
and 2, and 1, and go.
Hi, welcome to our series of videos that we do from time to time called Heart to Heart.
Yep.
I'm Lou, if you're new to the site.
John.
This is John. What we want to talk about today is threats and promises, and we're talking here about the verbal and inner dialogue that goes on in stress response to kind of what you're going through. So looking at my life, I think the threat, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to go away, or I'm going to tell your parents, that was I thought was a really good threat, because you would have hated that. So all the time I was kind of saying, I'm going to do something, you've got to stop, I've got to do something. And I wasn't ever able to follow that through at the time. It was a threat, but then I also kind of had promises to myself, like I would say, I won't allow that again. This time I will leave, I promise you. Sometimes I say it aloud, sometimes I say it to myself. So I was dealing with the disappointment that I was kind of setting up, really, either kind of slightly empty threats that became powerless because I wasn't at the point where I was going to carry them through.
Sorry, could I just interject?
Yeah.
Are you saying these out loud, or are you just saying these to yourself?
I think both.
Yeah, both.
Both.
Okay.
I sometimes I would say, I promised myself I wouldn't put up with this again.
Okay.
Or sometimes it would be almost like, I'm not doing that inside. I promised myself I won't allow to be treated like that.
Yeah.
They were very real at the time, but they were kind of a hot air rhetoric because they weren't thought through. And I felt it, but it wasn't an intentional thing. It was just a response to the pain I was being put through. And then my drinker had his own kind of version of that, not so, I don't know, they might have inside, I promise I'm going to stop. Question, did you ever say that to yourself when you were still drinking?
Every other day.
Okay.
Today. Do you know there's an irony about this? You go into Alcoholics Anonymous and they tell you, or just live a day at a time. You never live a day at a time more than when you're drinking. Because you live in that one day, everything is focused in that one day, getting the money, getting the drink, and so many times I've waken up in the morning and go, oh, and that's it, never again, never again, never again.
So that's an example of the drinker's promise. The threat is, I think, if you like, the two basic statements of what I'm explaining here is the drinker is saying, I need you, the partner, or the mum and dad or the child is saying, I need you to change. The threat from the drinker, sometimes it's really overt, sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's by minimization. So many strategies, but the real threat is, you leave me alone. You stop trying to get to my drink. Now, that was really threatening to you if somebody tried to take the drink away. Just explain that feeling.
It was a dreadful feeling, because this was my friend. This was, in fact, it was more than my friend. This was my life. If I went way back to, when I was about 19 and standing in a pub and everybody's talking about their hangovers and, and how bad things were. And my statement was, I just don't feel real. And somebody says, you've got a problem. I think you're the one with your head down the pan. But they were right, because I never felt more alive than when I was drinking. I never felt more confidence than when I was drinking. More sort of being more vital than when I was drinking. That
wasn't perceived necessarily by the people around you.
But no, it wasn't. It was all in here.
Yeah, but very real. I know I've listened to you talk about this, and so the thought of somebody trying to take away the thing that's made you feel wonderful.
If you feel invisible all the time,
yeah,
when you're sober, and you actually feel sort of powerful, interesting, intelligent when you're drinking, then obviously that's what you want. But a friend of mine said, the best lover that she ever had was Johnny Walker, because that's what made her feel good, and lots of people, it's the transformative nature of alcohol, because it's a psychoactive drug. That's why people want to drink. They want to drink because it gives them something.
Yeah. So we have what kind of a dance really going on,
Very much.
that we're actually threatening and promising them out loud or to ourselves that we're going to really go for making sure that this stops, and they're actually threatening and making it really clear that they're really going to stand in what they've already got because it's really important to them. So this is massive kind of psychological and emotional tug of war, isn't there, between the person that you love and
very much so. Very much so.
and it's really anguish. It's really, really hard. And so first thing we would say is what you're doing there is completely understandable. You know, this is what took me so long to understand when I lived with the drinker, that in any other arena, remonstration, if something was affecting me, because my partner loved me, actually achieved the goal. You know, and if I'd say, look, that really hurt me, please don't do that, generally, my husband would do his best not to do it, you know, and that's how love works. And so, but I'd come into the drink arena and do exactly the same thing, and the very opposite would happen.
But the problem is that you're speaking a different language.
Yeah, you want to say some more about that?
You're speaking a completely different language, because you do not understand each other's needs.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't understand my wife's needs because I didn't see them as really very important, and then I just thought the things that she said were silly, you know, self-serving. Whereas, you know, she couldn't understand my need, and I had a real need for alcohol by the end. You know, it wasn't a desire; it was a need. I needed it. You know, so it was like two different people talking two different languages, as if you know, we'd landed in Russia and you're saying things and people are just looking at you and going, "What?"
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Did you have any real understanding of the chaos and the pain that you were causing?
Not really. I felt that this, a lot of the chaos and the pain was self-inflicted.
Okay.
That, you know, if she would just understand, then everything would be okay.
So there's this construct that you had again. I think we talked about this in a video that, you know, you're making a fuss, you know, but you're being controlling. So you keep this construct really careful, so that you can actually see it as their problem.
You've got to, because it's the only way you can protect what you're doing. Yeah, if you really knew what you were doing.
So we're not endorsing this.
No,
we're just explaining what's going on.
If you really understood what you were doing, that shame that you already had, and the shame would turn up the next day. It didn't turn up at the time. It turned up the next day, and the shame was so acute that I had to go and drink to numb it. You know, and that was the problem. So you're always keeping shame and guilt at arm's length.
We talk about this in the 4 Ps. Which,
You
know, if you don't know anything else about bottled up, swallow and to get to know in every language the 4 Ps, because it's the real key to the way that you.
So that's the issue. There's just this total lack of understanding, as if you're speaking two different languages.
Yeah.
And to some extent you are. You know, it's the language of the heart and the head.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so
the language of the bottle.
Yeah. If you're speaking your pain, I'm going, you know, because my pain is overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know?
Now this is really deeply distressing, because we feel that our pain is unendurable a lot of the time. And when I say we, I'm always at this point talking as the person who lived with the drinker. I think that's what's quite unusual about our situation, is that you've got the mind of the drinker, you know. And I bring that out not to lay any trip on you, but so that you understand what's going on in the person that you're trying to help. And I think understanding what's going on in their brain, so no matter how many threats and promises you do, that is not the route to getting your needs met or getting an end to the situation. So we're talking now, aren't we, about...
And I have to say that I am not condoning what I did. I'm not condoning drinkers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not making a plea, leave us alone. And that's not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is, when you're in that position, it's very, very difficult to see, you know, the other person's pain. And that's deliberate. Yeah. You know, because if I see the other person's pain, then it just makes me feel worse. Yeah. And I don't want to feel even worse And I don't want, I mean, I feel bad about myself, you know, and if I pick up that pain, then I'll feel even worse about myself. So that's all part of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, but a lot of that, my insight into this didn't happen at that time by any manner of means. It only happened in hindsight.
Yeah.
And I would have said, once I got sober, I'd had a problem for the previous 2 years. That's what I would have said. The longer I stayed sober, the more I realised it went right the way back, you know, almost to, I was ripe for alcoholism.
Yeah.
I was ripe for it, almost from the word go.
Okay, now looking at the time, I think we'll do this in 2 parts, because we're going to now go into, in the next video, and these 2 will be together, is the journey towards intervention. Because if you strip out threats and promises and the hot air, we then need to talk about boundaries, realistic goals, and also an intervention. And these are the functional ways of getting your needs met that we try to do with the rhetoric of the threats and the promises. So please listen to the second one of this, and we'll try and keep that because we can't cover. We try to do 15 minutes, and I don't think we can cover that in 3.5 minutes. So we'll do that, and we'll just do a second part of this. So we'll see you again. This time we will see you again, hopefully, in a few minutes as we get on to the next bit.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you in the next one.
Yes.
Bye.